So this is just a quick intro video to the channel. It's mainly going to be about toy collecting action figures from around the 1970s when I was a kid, and predominantly it's going to be the Marx Lone Ranger, or the Lone Ranger Rides Again series of toys. So let's get into it. So the year is 1973. Louis Marx, the American toy giant, probably the biggest toy manufacturer in the world by the 1950s, has gone into the action figure line. He's already been in the action figure line with a range of cowboy figures called the Best of the West series. And I did have a Johnny West when I was a child. I think the Johnny West line came out in 1964 or something like that, and pretty much ran into about 75. The main downside to the Johnny West figure, he was a solid cast plastic body. The clothes were cast as part of the body, so his shoes were cast to his feet. He had some articulation. The box said that he came in said he could do 1001 positions. Well, Marx Toys decided, probably as a marketing strategy, to go for a 10-inch figure, and the figure was very well sculpted, highly detailed, very well made, and he decided to go for this 10-inch figure. Johnny West was a 12-inch figure, Action Man was a 12-inch figure, or G.I. Joe, who's known in the US, so you could kind of intermingle those. But you couldn't really do it with the Lone Ranger, because the main hero of the set, the Lone Ranger, well, he was 2 inches shorter than Action Man that I had, which made him kind of look childlike. Maybe that's what Marx Toys were hoping for, because then you'd have to buy him a sidekick, and maybe you'd have to go on then and buy like your anti-hero in this case, which was Butch Cavendish, so that you could interact and play with these toys as a whole rather than just one figure on its own. Just the difference with this figure from what Marx had already produced was the fact that it was a dressable figure. He also had play sets that you could buy as optional extras to mimic the television series. And the television series was made in 1949, so it had the uniform that he wore was the sort of sky blue, which was what Clayton Moore was wearing in the show, even though it was black and white, with the red scarf, where the original comic book hero, the Lone Ranger, had black trousers, a red shirt, and a black tie, but I think it was because it didn't show up so well. They went for this new colour setup when the TV media came into play. Now, the toys themselves are really well made, they're very well sculptured, but they're 40 odd years old now, so they are collectible. Some people are trying to peddle these figures for ridiculous amounts of money. But generally speaking, a good condition one, I've been paying around the £20–30 mark for a figure, but it's not necessarily complete. Things like the Lone Ranger tend to have broken masks, the domino mask. Quite often figures will have limbs which have had some sort of dubious repair, or just missing, basically missing. They can be repaired, but they are a bit of a trial when it comes to the repairs. The bodies aren't so bad, so if you've got a figure that's got a decent set of arms but is missing a pair of legs or something, you can prise the bodies open quite safely and re-glue them with a set of arms from another doll, another figure. But things like hands, the hands generally are broken, or the feet are broken, and they are a bit of a mission. I'm working on a couple at the moment, and it's going okay, but it could be better. They are really well glued together on those sort of areas, and once you've prized them apart, the damage is fairly obvious. So over the course of the next few videos for this channel, we're going to be looking at the figures that I've got, uniforms, bits and pieces that I've collected over the last few months, and repairs, customisations and things that we can do to restore these to some sort of collectible condition. But it would be nice for them to be reasonably well conditioned, functional, and display purposes intact. I've got several Lone Rangers now. I've got several Tontos. I've got a few red sleeves. I've got several Butch Cavendishes, and they've all got their own little caveats of things that are not, that seem to be specific to each figure, for which things are more damaged or broken or missing. So as a rule, red sleeves seems to be, the ones that I've picked up have been fairly good, but they've been missing things like the headband and some of the belts and what have you, some of the smaller components. The Lone Ranger is typically missing the red scarf, sometimes the guns are, or they're the wrong guns, and obviously the domino mask is one of the more delicate parts of the Lone Ranger figure. Quite typically it will be missing possibly a right hand, seems to be the most common that I've seen up to now. And then you've got Tonto, there are some odd Tontos out there, because I think for a period through the 70s, late 70s, it must have been easier just to stick whatever feet they had on him, because you quite often find a Tonto that's got Caucasian looking feet compared to his more reddish brown body structure. Looks like he's got an odd set of feet he moves on when he's been out in the sun. Butch Cavendish is typically missing a left hand. His shirt does not hold up well to the rigours of time. It's usually very crusty and will fall apart at the merest touch. It's very difficult to wash the shirt because it just disintegrates. The scarf can be, it's just a black piece of material, but I had one, and just as I undid it and just pulled it out straight, it just snapped clean in half. He again may be missing guns. Tonto may be missing guns. There are obviously some inaccuracies between each figure and his on-screen counterpart, typically being that Tonto has a 2-gun rig, which he never did. He had a gun with a knife, single 6-shooter with a knife on his belt. Tonto's usually missing his headband, his waist belt, his knife. Some of the materials that they use in these toys does go a bit dodgy over time. These figures did have, each one of the figures had its own horse. So the Lone Ranger had a nice horse, silver horse, with black tack, as it were, which, as far as the ones I've seen, have been fairly good. The ones that seem to suffer seem to be Tonto's horse, Scout. Now Scout came with a sort of a reddish brown saddle, and typically when you find these, they are absolutely glued to the body, to the point that something in either the rubbery plastic or the plastic of the body seems to react and almost melt itself together. You can get little like crevices in the body that need to be sorted out, and you get a really horrible bright red stain where any of the parts have been touching for a period of time. So this is something that I'm going to have to look at. My Scout horse has the red deeply ingrained into the plastic, so it's basically going to be a respray job, I think, to be honest. I think I'm going to end up sanding to get rid of the major melt points where the contact's been. To get the dyed colour out of it, it's going to be a case of maybe spraying it white and then painting it in, at which point I will probably do a more authentic Scout. The Scout that you get is just basically a white horse with some brown bits blown on it randomly across it in patches, which is nothing like the on-screen horse. So I'm thinking I might do an on-screen replica in that point for that horse, and look out for a better original Scout from the collection at a later date. Butch Cavendish, his horse doesn't appear to come up, well, certainly not in the UK anyway, as often as the other two. Tonto and the Lone Ranger are clearly the main heroes of the piece, and typically I suppose they made more Lone Rangers than any character, then possibly more Tontos, because who really wants to be the bad guy? So you're probably going to find that there are more Silvers and more Scouts available than there's going to be Smoke, or as he was later renamed to Bandit. I don't know why. Obviously, I don't know, it's the same horse, but originally Butch Cavendish's horse was called Smoke. And you will find some boxed as a Smoke and some boxed as a Bandit, which I would imagine that the Smoke ones are probably more collectible. The Bandit ones would have been late, around 78 maybe. They came out several different guises. You could buy the figures on their own, the Lone Rangers and the horses. You could buy them as a box set, and then. But anyway, over the coming videos, what have we got? Well, we've got a Smoke horse that I bought recently. He's had a bit of an accident. He's got a right front foot that's been broken off, but unfortunately it looks like someone's tried to glue the foot back on and it's all in the rivet, so this might prove to be a bridge too far with old Smoke, but we're not going to shoot him just yet. We're going to attempt to rescue him and see if we can't. I've got a spare Silver who's far from silver. He's a grotty, looks like he's. The trouble with the Silver horse is that over time the plastic goes like a horrible beigey brown colour, almost like it's been in a house full of smokers. You can clean it up. I've already got a clean version. I've got a spare that's very loose. So at this point he may donate a foot to Smoke, who's a lot more. He's one that I say a lot more. He's one that I need more than two Silvers. I mean, potentially I could paint Silver a different colour and make him something else. Another horse, maybe a horse for red sleeves, but I'm always going to have a foot missing unless I can find a foot on its own. So what else have we got? We've got two Butch Cavendishes with missing left hands, both of them. I have got one spare hand, but getting the arm apart is proving to be fairly tricky. And we've got a few Lone Rangers and bits of equipment and things to do, so there'll be some more stuff coming up. So if any of these videos have even a modicum of interest, please like, subscribe, do all those things that you do, ring the bell, whatever it is, and share the videos if you feel the need. And hopefully there'll be some content on here that is not widely available across YouTube at this point. I've been looking for videos certainly for how to get things apart, and I've found some from Toy Polloi and one or two others, but they're very basic videos, they're quite old, and so hopefully I can learn from them and pass on to you videos that have more of a restoration value to them, shall we say. So hopefully there'll be some good stuff, some stuff of interest. So thanks for watching, hope to see you soon, and let's get on with some more videos.